Okay, so now that we are more or less all here, of course, that more people may be joining, I want to say to everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here with us for our first and inaugural crop event. We will have quite a lot of few and quite a lot, not few, but quite a lot of very experienced speakers in the areas of creativity, culture, and in the areas of also humanities. And let me just allow other people to join. And it's my very big pleasure to welcome you all here for our first event. And I believe you are seeing my screen. No? Give me just a thumbs up if yes or no, because I believe it is not sharing. Okay, give me just 1 second. Okay, it seems that today the technical problems do not end. Okay, give me. Okay. Are you seeing it now? Possibly? I believe you are seeing it now, right? Okay, I believe yes. So I was saying, as I was saying, thank you all for being here and for having this lovely morning with us. Without further ado, and since we want to be mindful of your time and not to delay anyone's plans, I would like then to pass the word to our first speaker, Danielle Brancati, which is a project manager and project designer for the Consortium of Cultural and Creative Enterprises in Matera Hub. And he will also be the person that will tell you all about our project crop, what it stands for, its objectives, and who are the partners taking care and trying to embark on this journey to improve our arts and humanities education. So, Daniele, you can turn on your mic. The floor is yours. And
Hello,
I will stop
everybody.
sharing so you can share.
Okay. Thank you, Rita, for your introduction. Now, as Rita said, I will share my screen in order to introduce you to our project, Crop Project. So just 1 second. Now you should see my screen. Can you see it? Yeah, okay. I will start presentation. So sorry, I'm just a little problem. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay. So here you have our beautiful logo designed by our partners. And CROP project is an acronym for Creativity Rises Opportunities for Partnership. Why we decided to call our project CROP. Now we will see it better in the next slide. So which is the main objective of CROP project? CROP intends to introduce innovative peer learning practices in higher education institutions. So students, academic staff, and CCI's actors generate altogether job placement and self-entrepreneurship opportunities, and then foster the development of community networks. Another innovation aspect of CROP is that it uses the concept of spillover, but applied to creativity, in order to enhance the creative thinking of students and graduates who have been in art and humanities field for no more than 2 years. So which are the main features of CROP project? The first one is a new learning and teaching methods and approaches. The second is creating new, innovative, or joint curricula or courses. And the third one is entrepreneurial learning and entrepreneurship education. So let's see more in detail the specific objectives of our project. So the objective number one is the development of a vocational master's degree to equip graduate students in art and humanities disciplines with theoretical knowledge and also practical skills in order to enhance creativity in real-life contexts by fostering internships, job placement, and self-entrepreneurship opportunities. The objective number two of CROP project is the implementation of participatory processes and collaboration with the stakeholders of the territories where the two universities partners are located, so in Portugal and in Finland. And these in order to respond to the challenges, the problems, the needs identified, and enhancing community networks within the university's third mission. But how CROP project will reach these objectives? So first of all, the universities involved will identify and involve local actors from the target communities, such as citizens, businesses, non-profit organizations, and local governments, to initiate concrete collaborations in solving local challenges. And this will be the common thread running through the entire project, involving students, academic staff, and professionals from non-academic partner organizations. Then, professors, students, and stakeholders of CCIs, so culture and creative industries, for example, tourism companies, managers of tangible and intangible cultural heritage, publishing, performing arts, and so on, will be called upon to work together in an integrated perspective by participating in the search for solutions, products, and services that are capable of generating a long-term, scalable, and replicable social impacts. So, who will be involved in this project? We will have two kinds of target groups, the direct target group and an indirect target group. So in the direct target group, we will have, of course, as we already said, students and graduates who have been in art and humanities for no more than 2 years. Then we will have academic staff who will be able to benefit from training content and case studies useful to enrich their courses with innovative content. And then we'll have CCI stakeholders, so public and private, involved in the local challenges, who will benefit from the results and will have the opportunity to interact with other actors. And in indirect target group, we will have, of course, the citizens of the local communities, non-profit communities that will have opportunity to approach the universities and work together. Then businesses, startups, and businesses associations that will be able to work and benefit from innovative and or improved solutions. And in the end, we will have policy makers and local administrators who will be able to interact with all previous actors. Who will be the partners of our project? So we will have Matera Hub from Italy. We have me and Angela Di Benedetto, who are responsible for this project. Then we will have Universidade do Porto from Portugal. We will have Euroscience Edu from Italy as well. Then we will have HUPTEC, Associação de Transferência from Portugal. And then we will have Xamk, the Southeastern Finland University of Applied Science. I want to inform you that our Facebook and the LinkedIn channel are already working. We are already disseminating the first results and the first events of our project. And now I will briefly link to the chat our channels. And I want to thank you for the attention. And if you should have any further information, you will have here our contact of Daniele Brancati and Angela Di Benedetto, my colleague. And here you have our emails, and feel free to contact us for any further information. Now I will link to the chat our channels, LinkedIn and Facebook channels. And thank you again for your attention. Now I will leave the floor to our speakers. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Daniele, for this very insightful, and what a way for us to embark on this journey and to lay the grounds and the foundations for the upcoming successes of this project. I will continue now for the next moment, which, no, it's, okay, wait, it is not this. Let me just, okay. I do apologize for my technical difficulties. Sometimes it's not on the first try. Okay. And okay, now we move on to our next moment, our panel discussion on how to be an entrepreneur in the arts and humanities field. It will be moderated by André, which I will give the floor in just a few seconds. And we will have as speakers Gabriela Antesa, Celia Suntola, and Farofa, which also André will diligently present everyone and let us know what is this panel about. So André, you can turn on your mic and say hi to everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rita.
Okay.
I will actually not introduce everyone, and I will ask everyone to introduce themselves, as it is easier. And I'm sure that each and every one of you is a better introducers of yourselves, at least better than I am. But I will start with myself, if that's okay with you. I'm André. I'm the head of business development for the arts at UPTech. Which means that I'm knees deep into this project. You know, I'm really excited about developing and about using creativity as a way to develop new skills and to help creatives develop new skills. And this is a little bit about what this digital roundtable is about, is to discuss these matters and to see how we can actually move forward. So I will start with Gabriela. If you are so kind as to introduce yourself and join us here on the floor.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Gabriela Antezza. I'm the Senior Training Manager of Matura Hub. And today we will deep dive into a specific topic, which is about entrepreneurship and how to be an entrepreneur in the arts and humanities sectors, which I've been work within for the last 10 years or so. So I'm really happy to introduce you to this topic. Before starting with it, I would like, if you are happy with it, to start with a quick quiz. I'll try to share my screen. Just 1 second. Okay, can you see my screen? Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Because you disappeared from my screen. So, okay, I can see you now. Okay, so this is a very quick quiz, and you can scan the QR code, or if you prefer, you can look for menti.com and use that code to connect. It's very quick, and it's just an introduction, a quite light introduction to the topic. Okay, so okay, a second. Okay, there we are. Of course, these are very quick questions, and this is the first one. What is entrepreneurship in the context of arts and humanities? So choose the answer you think is correct. Starting a business for profit, creating value through innovative ideas and ventures, following traditional career paths in the arts and humanities, or none of the above. Okay, I can see that everyone has voted. Oh, great. Okay, glad about it. So everyone chose creating value through innovative ideas and ventures. Of course, this is the correct answer. Why? Because entrepreneurship in the arts and humanities, as in any sector, to be honest, is not only about starting a new business in the economic, let's say, sense of it. It is about leveraging creative and innovative ideas to create value, whether they are artistic endeavors or cultural projects or social impact initiatives as well. So this is the most effective and representative description for what entrepreneurship means in the context of arts and humanities. Okay, let's move to the second question. Okay, let's wait. Okay, who is an example of an entrepreneur in the arts and humanities field, in your opinion, among Pablo Picasso, William Shakespeare, Oprah Winfrey, or all of the above? Let's see what your answer may be. Okay. Oops, sorry. Okay, so one answered Pablo Picasso, a couple Oprah Winfrey, most of you, all of the above. Yes, the correct answer is all of the above. Why? Because each of these individuals, of course, there were just 3 examples that were chosen, but each of these individuals contributed to innovate and to add value to their own fields in their different way. Picasso and Shakespeare, of course, were groundbreaking artists and creators who changed their fields in their own way. But also Oprah Winfrey is a representative, let's say, a media and cultural influencer who built an empire around her brand. So yes, can represent entrepreneurship within arts and humanities their own way. So the last question now is this one that will appear very soon. Okay, what is a key characteristic of the entrepreneurial mindset in your opinion? Avoiding risk at all costs, resilience in the face of challenges, rigid adherence to traditional methods, pursuing short-term gains over long-term goals. Let's see what your answer is. Okay, great. Resilience in the face of challenges, yes. Entrepreneurship is challenging and unpredictable. So entrepreneurs must be able to bounce back from setbacks, to adapt to challenges, to tackle challenges, but also to cope with uncertainty. So surely resilience is a very important component for the entrepreneurial mindset, together, of course, with the other and as well as risk-taking, of course. But this represents much better one of the milestones of the entrepreneurial mindset. So thank you very much for doing this with me, doing this quick. 1 second, I have to find the, okay, there we are.
Thank you, Gabriella, also for this quick introduction on this matter. I believe we can also pass the word to the other speakers. I don't know if, Andrea, do you want to keep up the presentations?
Yeah, I believe that it's good that they still introduce themselves. So, Celia, do you want to introduce yourself, and then Farafa?
Thanks. So my name is Silja Suntola, and I work at the Southeastern Finland University of Applied Sciences in the Creative Industries Research Unit. So my own background to this whole topic is quite long. My own background is actually in music, but I sort of have evolved. I sometimes explain it from music to music management to arts management. And perhaps today I would mostly describe it as art of management. So getting over to the questions of what can we learn from the arts to be applied in any sector. Because creativity is not just a thing of the creative industries themselves. But yes, so I'm looking forward to this panel, and we will be back in a while. Thanks.
Thank you. Prof, your turn. Do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Rafael, but you can call me Farofa. It's my nickname and artistic name also. I have a law degree, but working with human rights and culture and education, diffuse and collective law. I specialize in nonviolence communication, and actually I work with party in music, but like this is just a mask for something really deep behind, and make 5 parties in Portugal, and the most like important one and the longest one is Quebracu, and we will talk more about this and party, education, culture, and immigrants right now.
Okay, thank you, Farofa. Celia, maybe we'll start with you if that's okay. I will do, just for FYI, what I will do is a quick question for each and every one of you, and then I'll open up the floor for everyone with more open questions. So I'll start with you, Celia, if that's okay. So considering all your experience and all the work that you have done also in education, and working with policy making, bridging efforts and bridging professionals and practices. In your opinion, what is the role of educators in preparing creatives to the present and to the future?
I think the role of educators is really key. And if I go to the challenges, since our topic is challenge-based learning, we have lived long in a very siloed world. We have different subjects, and the arts have become to be seen as a sort of silo of their own. And a very key thing for education today, a challenge that we are addressing, for instance, through this project, is that we should learn to be more multidisciplinary in our doings. When we tackle complex challenges, it's really rarely that an expert from one field can solve them. So we've come more and more into this world where we need multiple skills, multidisciplinary, and often they are project teams or challenge-based learning teams, whatever. So I think that's a key challenge for education. And maybe I'll still say this, that for instance, I love the idea from design that obviously everybody sort of has their root knowledge somewhere. So they call it T-shaped thinking. You have your root from somewhere, but then more and more there is a need for more horizontal, holistic understanding of what is around us. Because like I said, the world is becoming so complex and interplexed, and problems are getting more difficult to even understand, that not any single discipline can very rarely solve them. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be the single expert, like deep insights into specific disciplines. Obviously, yes, but there is an increasing need for this horizontal sort of knowledge and understanding on top of that.
You mentioned challenges as something that we need to answer, but also I got the idea that challenge can be a tool for us to learn and to grow. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear it. Does this?
No, I was asking if this makes sense to you, the idea of a challenge also being a tool for growing and for learning and to becoming. I mean, to me, as somebody who's supporting entrepreneurs, it all starts with a challenge, with a problem,
Yes.
and then you
Yes.
create the idea. But
Yeah,
for learning,
and
does this apply?
Absolutely. And I think like one part of the mindset of many artists and cultural actors is that they're sort of very curious about the world. So they can see challenges that maybe others wouldn't even question. So in that sense, the challenge can be the very start of an enterprise, or in whatever form you do your work, because as we know, entrepreneurship isn't always so simple in the creative industries. We'll come to that later. but entrepreneurial mindset in any case is. So yes, a challenge is a great tool for looking around and thinking like, what doesn't work? What could be better? How could we have a better, more sustainable well-being and sustainably competitive life for all? And as you can see, the values sort of come in there already. I'm sort of this, wanting to make the world better. Some may call it naive, but I like that. And I think that's sort of typical to the creative industries.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I believe it's a good segue to bring Farofa to the conversation. Because what me and Celia were just talking about, this idea of finding a challenge, trying to create a solution for it, is a little bit of what you have been doing as an artist, as a practitioner of arts, as somebody involved in the clubbing scene in Porto. So I'm curious, in terms of skills, what you found that you were lacking when you started to do this, and what skills do you believe would be good to have as somebody who is so involved in the art scene with a social mindset and an entrepreneurial mindset, obviously?
Yeah, I think like what you talk about, like a multifaceted like skills. We need like I have like a background from human rights and education, culture, but like work with like clubbing, music, and parties. And to start this, like an immigrant, because I'm from Brazil and not from Portugal, I come to here to sharing Brazilian art and different ways to party. And I believe party is a place to do this. And the skills like to do this is like an integrated community. You have party, but like you think like different way to party. Like party is a place to get high, to get drunk, but like when you work with this, and party is not this. Party is like a health place to you be there, like happy and like I know, just like extravagate, like sentiments and feelings. And when you have this skill to like integrate like artists, community, and works like no profit like associations, and how like to work together to make like a party like a health place, a place to building communities, building experience like through the arts, so using the art. And so maybe you need like to have like these skills, like to understand like in the city what happened in the city, like how you improve like art community, like in my case immigrant community, but like in talking like in Portugal, uh, integrate like the Portuguese, also like local people, to understand like how to be an immigrant, like how was to be an immigrant, like in different country, like feeling this difference. And so this is like hard to talk a lot of about the skills to like building this, but like I think with kind of this you can start like something and start to think.
But I have a follow-up question, which is getting back to the idea of having a challenge to solve and to use entrepreneurship to solve this challenge. And you did it with Quebracu, which is the platform that you have built here in Porto, in a way that you don't only wanted to create a platform for migrants, but also a platform for education, for a healthier lifestyle within the clubbing scene. Was this something that you understood that there's this challenge that needs to be solved, or did you just wanted to have an alternative of what you were seeing here in Porto?
Like I think they both, but like the challenge like start with the way like Portuguese artists or Portuguese local parties like use the Brazilian culture like an instrument, like just to make money, like to make party, to make money, to sell alcohol or in the bar club or in a club. And I saw the challenge like I see my culture like using a different instrumentalized my culture, like using the different way, and the challenge was like how to like building like this art from my country, like art from Brazil, but like you can live this in a different way, and not like in the party, like with immigrants, like making your own art. And the challenge like was a challenge, like you we talking here. I saw this, like I saw like okay, you have this gap here, you have like a Portuguese working with like a Brazilian music and culture, but like just like to make money. And to me, like this is not correct, like these things about parties, no, to see the party like just a different place. And uh and so I think it's the both, like I see the, like this challenge, and the different people use like the art and the music in the different way, and try like to create something like this platform to integrate like immigrant artists, and to and like artists, I told like all people like with a cultural night culture and a cultural night. In this case, because you have like not just DJing, not just singers, like have like designers, you have photographers, a lot of art in the parties. I think I answer your question. I'm like I kind of lost.
No, I think it answers the question, and it also again a nice segue to Gabriel, because we were again discussing challenges and how these are drivers for entrepreneurship. But I'm also curious, considering your expertise and all the work that you've been doing, aside from understanding what a problem is, how do you actually become an entrepreneur, and which skills do you believe should be nurtured among art and humanities graduates to make them more entrepreneurial?
If I may add something to what has already been said, I completely agree with. A challenge is basically something that comes out when you identify a problem or a need. And I think that the real foundation of entrepreneurship, intended as a competence, right, is just that ability to identify a need, to identify a problem, and look for solutions to solve that problem. That is the foundation of entrepreneurship. So, usually entrepreneurs and professionals within arts and humanities, but creative and cultural industries in general, traditionally are seen like two separate roles, where you have business people and artists. And that is the most difficult obstacle to overcome, especially with professionals and students from the creative and cultural industries, because they feel like entrepreneurship is making money, is about making economic profit, and whatever you do on top of it is very difficult to reach. That is the other way around. Because entrepreneurship, just to give you an example of, and that's how I try to answer your question, entrepreneurship was defined by the European Commission in 2006 as a competence, therefore a mix of skills, attitudes, so states of mind, ways of behaving and so on, as well as knowledge, of course, that enable to spot opportunity, act upon those opportunities, and create value. Now, the value can be economic, financial, but also social. So also artistic, also, any kind of value. So I think that what you really need to nurture and to encourage graduates or professionals within the creative and cultural industries are key, let's say, life competencies, which are entrepreneurial competencies, such as self-awareness, self-efficacy, motivation, perseverance, resilience. Of course, you need to have technical hard skills, such as financial knowledge, literacy, and all that stuff that you can acquire for sure. But if you don't hold develop and recognize these skills and attitudes as key of the entrepreneurial mindset, which correctly was said by Celia, it's a state of mind, okay? Entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial mindset is what we use every day. So if we have to plan a trip, we use an entrepreneurial mindset. We use planning skills. We organize a framework of actions and activities in order to plan our journey and to make it successful. To calculate risks, that is risk taking. We interact with other people for any kind. We develop our corporate skills, managerial competencies, that is management, organization, that is all about entrepreneurship. So I think that the key skills that you need, actually I would say competence, because skill is rather an element of a competence. A competence is a very wide dimension, including all these, including also knowledge. So once you develop all these kind of competencies, then you can be a successful entrepreneur, which to me, based on my experience, means change maker in any field. So you can be a change maker within a social project. You can empower, you can enrich a cultural heritage of your community on a local level, national level, international level. There is another thing very important, to have an interdisciplinary learning approach. So cooperate with your fellows, with other artists, entrepreneurs, and so on. Sorry, I'm going to be too long.
No, that was perfect. And I love that you highlighted how entrepreneurship is just kind of our way of moving in the world that we live in. It's the rules of the world, you know. And it's something that artists have always been as well, although they may not regard themselves as such. So I really like that you said that you pointed that out, that it's all about competencies that we all share already and we know about. But there's also something that you touched upon that I would like to open this question for everyone, because I found it really interesting, which is the cooperation. Generally, when we talk about more of a market approach, competition is always something that we focus too much on. But I found curious that you addressed cooperation also as a way to grow. How do you feel about this idea of about this opposition of terms? Does this make sense? Is it possible to have both?
Yes. You know why? Because in my opinion, competition is not a negative dimension of entrepreneurship, but in general in life. It depends on how you approach it. In order to be unique, you need to know the world around you. So you need to explore what is already there. If there are similar solutions to that challenge that you identified, and in order to be different, you need to know it, to acknowledge what is out there. And boosting co-creation, cooperation, co-production can only innovate a service or a product. If you approach a competition with a cooperative mindset, that's where you can be successful. So it's like in real life at the end of the day. If you work individually, you will have limits that you will hardly be able to overcome. But if you put together strengths, if you try to overcome your weaknesses or your team weaknesses, that's where you can be successful and make a change. That's why a cooperative mindset, I think that is the key word. If you develop that kind of approach, that entrepreneurial approach, I would say, then you can really create something bigger and more effective. So yes, competition is good in my opinion.
Celia, do you want to weigh in on this idea as well? The cooperation versus competition.
Yeah, I think very good pointers. There would be a lot to say, but I don't think we have time. But definitely, I also agree that competition is not like either or. And I could add that, like you said, if you want to really be innovative and really creative, I mean, it's sort of natural that, of course, you have to find out what is already happening and be aware of the scene that you're actually working in. It's like in academic research, any top researcher, the first thing he or she does is find out about all the other researchers in the area. So he doesn't do double jobs, the same thing, and work from there. And that's how the world actually moves forward. And I could add a relevant term that is often thought as like not creative is deadlines. Creative people definitely need deadlines. So many of these worlds that we think, oh, they're not in the creative thing, it's not always so. It's how we approach things. So that would be my input.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's true that we don't have much time, so I'm struggling a little bit to which question should we go next, because I want to ask you all of them. We've been talking a little bit about knowing the world that we are in. I'm curious regarding the use of technology and how we should make it more democratic for people in the arts and humanities field. You know, there's this artist that I really enjoy, that she's been developing her own AI model, and she says that it's impossible for an artist to envision the future if they can't use the material reality of today, which I find that is a really compelling idea. And I'm curious, how do you believe that technology should be made more available or widely available for people in the arts and humanities field? And if you feel there's still a barrier in this democratic access. Gabriela, do you want to go first?
Yes, I think that technology cannot be ignored. On the contrary, it should be used as much as possible, because in the arts and humanities, I mean, think about, you were talking about inclusivity, basically. Yes, technological tools and strategies are inclusive. If you think of tools you can take in museums, for instance, through technology, which can support any kind of individual to be able to see, to hear, to feel, and the technology can be of great use. And I think that if you have critical thinking skills, then you can use technology the right way. So going back to entrepreneurship education, that is one of the key competencies within entrepreneurship, critical thinking, which means see things from a different perspective, finding innovative, original ideas, which doesn't mean something that doesn't exist. So something like a will, but it means that you start from what is already there and you improve it. And technology is the key right now to do so, because if you don't use it, then you will miss that changing dimension. If you are not part of it now, you won't be able to catch up. And that's the real thing. So if you are a critical thinker, then technology can only help you also to collaborate, going back to the previous topic. Imagine how much you can collaborate everywhere in the world remotely if you use technology, how you can co-create through AI, even if you are in the other part of the world. So yes.
Farofa, as an entrepreneur, how do you think about these things, the more and more widened use of technology?
Yeah, you can see like how technology like improve like to the artists, and how more artists like can practice like bring like to my world like a DJing. You can see like now more like DJs, because they have like the technology. Long time ago I started with vinyls and like the analogic way, and today you have a cell phone, you make a DJ set like by your cell phone, like you have this technology like improve, and more people can work with art, like work with like culture, because of this, because this technology like now like the access is really easy, is like cheaper, is you don't have like to have 2 turntables, a lot of vinyls like to create a party or to create a DJ set. So it's really easy. And I saw like that happen. No, I worked with like 15 years with DJing, and now we have like a lot of more DJ. Like after pandemic, a lot of people comes to me here, in immigrants and Portuguese people talking like, I want to make a, I want to be a DJ, I want to be a musician, I want to be, and now like it's easier, no? So you have like all information, like an easy access, and you have like a free platform like to do this, and you can be wherever you want to be, no? And this, like I saw the technology like change this like to the arts people.
I never thought of it this way, actually. It seems quite obvious, now, as you pointed out, but that technology is also a way to make access to arts more democratized. So that's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, and you saw
Celia.
happen this in Porto. Yeah, you saw this happen in Porto. Like a lot of DJ,
Yeah.
like a lot of immigrant DJs, like now can be and like work with art and work with like community art, no? So parties and just like because it's easier, no?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Celia, do you want to weigh in on this as the last person to speak on the panel?
Thanks. I would maybe condensedly say that technology, I mean, obviously it increases the opportunities we have in all ways enormously. But I often think there's sort of a mix-up between the technology is still a tool. It doesn't create the purpose or the means. It's almost like saying, if you want to go somewhere, nobody buys a car to put gas in it. You buy it to go somewhere. And the same sort of with technology, that's definitely, and I would perhaps also remind that technology as a means, as a tool, it can really be used for both good and bad or in between. So it doesn't in itself mean. So again, perhaps the role of arts and culture and the whole discussion on the values that are really close to the arts, values, ethics, and these sorts of things, also are one reason why arts and technology themselves are really synergetic fields. And I think the cooperation there is like gives incredible tools also to artists and for democratizing and making things available in incredible ways.
Oh, thank you. That makes perfect sense. Also, the idea that technology is a tool only makes me feel strongly about the idea that it should be more available, more widely available. Maybe students that are now learning how to paint in the university should start playing a little bit with AI and stuff like that. I don't know if this makes sense, but I like the idea. I don't know. And yeah, I think this is the panel. I don't know if everybody has questions, but we'll have a Q&A afterwards, so you can leave all the questions for that part of the virtual of this virtual gathering. And Rita, you can take the stage once again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, André. Thank you so much, Gabriela, Celia, and Farofa for your participation and your very, very valuable contributions. Indeed, it will be good if we would have more time to ask more questions and to gather more insights. But in order to keep mindful of the time, and since we are already running a bit delayed since of the initial technical problems, I will then pass the floor to the next talk. And in the meantime, as Andreas said, if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat, or you also have a Q&A button available in the bar of the tool. So you can also leave your questions there. And for our next talk, we have Celia, that already introduced herself, but just to refresh your minds, Celia is a manager of international R&D projects at the Creative Industries Research Unit at Southeastern Finland University of Applied Science. So Celia, I can stop. Okay, no, it's not this. I can stop presenting, so you can share your screen, and yeah.
Great. Thank you. And I think a lot of the pointers that I was thinking of making came in the panel, but perhaps I'll be able to represent them in a bit different way. So go ahead. Mika is changing my slides so I don't have to stare at my own presentation. Perhaps one just like fact for this, since we speak of CCI, we speak of creativity, we speak of creative economy, creative industries, and blah, blah, blah. So, or creative sector, more largely, many names for this. What are we actually talking about? Everybody has seen in the last 10 to 20 years how much just creativity, innovation are words that are in more and more strategies, policy papers, in organizations, in the public sector, on EU level, worldwide, and so forth. I don't think you can find an organizations who would say, no, we absolutely don't want to be creative. Maybe you can, and maybe that's an innovation itself. But why? The whole discussion of creative sector actually started about 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, if you count the discussion on the content industries, meaning mainly music, AV, things that could be spread through digital media. And the reason was actually quite political that we started counting these about 15 different sectors, from architecture to games to music, theater, whatever. That actually, if you count the whole creative sectors, they make up quite a big percentage of total GDP. And here again, you could ask, we just said that money isn't the first thing in the creative industries, but the reasons were quite political to start with. It was actually to acknowledge that the arts and cultural fields actually have a lot to give for creativity in other contexts, or like in the crop project, we speak of spillover effects. So what does this consist of? Like, why do you say that this one sector is actually has more value than the industries themselves? We can say that the goods and services from the creative industries add to competitiveness of other sectors. And another interesting view is that arts by nature, the cultural field, you can call them sort of trailblazers. They rather make the trends than follow them. And I think also an important part of the whole arts and cultural sector is that there have been so many reports, and we sort of know more or less that the arts and culture are good for our well-being. They're part of a good life, so to speak. And as last, the meanings and values, evoking questions and visions, rethinking of, okay, this is what the world looks like, what could it think of? And as we just talked of technology a while ago as an incredible enabler to do things in more different ways, to wide things more spreadly. I love Nancy J. Adler, quite renowned academic in management, has asked, now that we can do anything, what will we do? And I think that is also an important question that we should remember when we speak of the role of CCI in the world. Next. Just quickly, this was just in the World Economic Forum report that they do every year. So what are the skills that most companies from any sector feel are most important for their creativity and innovativeness? And as you can see, there's actually a lot of pointers and skills that are very relevant and often thought of as typical to the creative sector. If you would like look at the reports from a few years ago, there has been less and less. So the amount or percentage of creativity related skills have risen like throughout years. Next. Just quickly also, we spoke about, okay, creative skills or competences, services or products can add competitiveness to other fields. Perhaps the most obvious ones, but so we get a sense, what is the role of creativity when we actually start thinking more transdisciplinary, not just arts for art's sake or culture for culture's sake, which is important, and that is sort of the basis. I sometimes call that the basic research of arts and culture, if you will. That's the ground where the skills and thinking skills and the different skills come from. Design is easy to understand. I think that has maybe traditionally been longest the sort of sector that has just mixed with other sectors. Because if you're a designer, I mean, you need something. Well, what am I designing? Is it a vacuum cleaner or is it something else? And obviously more and more we also come to the idea of design, not just as physical products, but as services, immaterial design of information, definitely need systems, spaces, sounds, anything. So design has become more of an abstract concept, not just the products. Expressions. Obviously, arts is a really powerful way to express things. It can evoke emotions and thoughts, but it can also, very importantly, again, express and build platforms for sharing meanings, identities, values. So you can convey things that are really hard to put into words. Just one example of this, if you think of like history as a subject, imagine just for a second that you have no arts or history in your history books. You just had plain text. You wouldn't get a sense of what a country is like or anything else. So it's a really strong and important form for that. Content production has to do again also today with the mix of digital medias and what all its new opportunities is bring to the above, to share expressions, to do anything. And again, that's something that the ability to use the new technologies means that you can, in more different ways, like work together and integrate them into pretty much anything. But as we know, technology, it's just a means, it needs the content. And what is the role of the arts and culture there? It's very many-folded, but it's very important. Next slide. Again, so that came up, but I do think if we look at the sort of nature, now I'm starting to get into the work part. So arts and culture, it's not just the world of the professional artists. It's not just something that happens in the museums, symphony or concert halls or something like that. It's anything from arts and hobbies. And I sometimes say like everything has a shape and color and so forth. And I really like the idea of trying to widen our own understanding, get away from our silo mode of thinking arts is just the traditional arts. It might be the roots, but that it's actually everywhere around us every day in any case. Let's go forward. We spoke about entrepreneurship, and I love the idea too that entrepreneurship, it's a competence, it's more a state of mind in my mindset. And I could add also at the same time to the discussion that sometimes we have run a lot of so-called creative industries or creative entrepreneurship courses, like as in differentiation to traditional entrepreneurship courses. If I had to really condense what is the difference, is that traditional entrepreneurship courses sometimes, obviously not all the time, they sort of focus on the enterprise and the what you call technical skills. Creative entrepreneurship starts from the person, the will, the motivation, the identity of an artist saying, who could I be as an entrepreneur? Artists, like said also, they often don't tend to, they think of business life sort of like, no, that's a bad thing, you know, it's all about money and things like that. And it obviously doesn't have to be like that, as also came up. And the sort of, I really like the wider scope of the entrepreneurship just term, because a lot of work in the creative industries, it's not just entrepreneurs. It can be done, many are freelancers, many work as NGOs, and it's very typical that you do sort of multiple roles. You might teach at the university. That's what I did when I was a musician. You do gigs, you write a book, you do any projects. There's a TV project that they wanted to meet. So it's sort of a very networked and very sort of difficult to define. And I like the wider idea that you can and should have. for that. Next. So in my mind, what are the skills that are really relevant and what we can learn from the arts and cultural sector? We have worked with the CLOCK project, which is trying to understand and define the skills from the creative industries that are transferable to other sectors. And we have put those into three sort of categories, and only one of those are the so-called traditional skills, which are more related to your own art. Can you play something? Are you good at drawing or whatever? Obviously, again, those are as important, that's not the things, but looking at it, it's really also learning skills, like was mentioned earlier too. It's awareness, multi-intelligence, intuitive knowledge, which I'm referring to as meaning something that you are aware with all your senses, your sort of bodily knowledge. It's navigating complex systems to be able to see the big picture instead of just details. I always like this idea, and I know there's some related research on it that, for instance, if you think of the core skills of a conductor, his core skills is to hear the whole song, what is going on, understand the whole symphony, but at the same time be able to identify each individual instrument. So they practice and practice and practice that. And my question sometimes is, in a complex world, they're so filled with information, shouldn't that be everybody's core skill? So I think they're very important things that we can learn from the arts and creative skills themselves. And also people skills. Obviously, there are artists who just like to work together, but when we speak of working in any sector with creative competences, we need the people skills to work together. Next. That was just sort of end. These are two sayings, Adler, again, calling for the values and how we can make those visible through the arts and the sort of trailblazer modes that arts can have in visualizing futures and making it visible and transferable to others. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Julia, for this very, and once again, insightful presentation. I believe it was a very good way to wrap up the content of this session. You for sure left a lot of points here that also tickle the minds of the people that are here with us. So without further ado, I would like to, okay, let me just say to anyone that has a question or has a comment or any insight, we do have time for a couple of questions. Sadly, not a lot of time because I'm sure that many people would like to maybe also jump in and leave a comment, but feel free to write them in the chat or even in the Q&A button that you can see in the above bar. And in the meantime, while you may be thinking of a question or submitting one, I would also like to appeal that within this project, we are currently distributing and disseminating a survey where we are trying to indeed find the community's answer of what are the challenges faced by people that are working or that are entrepreneurs. Well, as we said, entrepreneurship is a state of mind, not really something that you jump onto it as a career. But we are indeed trying to find what are the challenges for people that are currently within this medium or trying to start within. So we would really appreciate your answer, your collaboration for these findings. So you can just scan the QR code and fill our survey. I also encourage all our speakers to do fill because I believe their contribution is also very, very valuable. So yeah, please do fill. It's between a 3-5 minute survey, so it's a very short survey. And then you can also submit your questions. I'm not able to currently see the chat. Let me to see if there is already any questions here. Okay, let's just give maybe 1 or 2 more minutes to see if there is any thought. Andrea, you did mention you had a couple more questions. Do you want to maybe open up the floor with one more?
I can ask some more questions to our panel. Just let me know if that makes sense.
Yeah, we do have time for maybe one question. Then if anyone else has another, we can also take that one.
Okay, so let me see here my notes. Yeah, maybe we can ask about how cultural entrepreneurship might be a catalyst for social inclusion. Again, this feels like an interesting one for Farofa to begin with, and then we can open up the floor to Gabriela and to Celia. This is exactly what you have been doing, Farofa. So I'm kind of curious to pick up your brain about how you have been promoting inclusion through entrepreneurship in the arts, and how you believe that this is actually a valuable and a viable way to promote this kind of mindset and approach.
Yeah, when you start like this kind of, we talk about this node. So you solve like the difficulties, then you create like I use art and community like to create solutions. And one of these difficult was like a space from immigrants and artists to do your work. So like immigrants, everything is more difficult when you can imagine it, or when you like immigrant, you feeling that like by yourself. And I saw like this problem. So a lot of local people like playing immigrant music. And when you have a lot of immigrant artists in the country, so in Portugal specifically, and so I start to think like to make a party like when like I try to find these artists and open space like to they create like your art like use like this platform like parties but like that's why I call like actually platform, because it's not just a party, you have like a lot of work like behind, and think like about this, like about how create community, like how you can like create a party like a space to a lot of artists like talking about like discuss things. So it's a multifaceted platform, and you really like think like in immigrants and collective like open space to these people to do your art.
That's really interesting, and actually somebody in the Q&A brought up an interesting point, but I want to change it a little bit and address a question to Gabriela, which is about policy making and the relation that artists can establish with them. Because I was looking at just considering what Farofa was saying and what he's been doing with Quebracu. This actually brings a lot of value in terms of social cohesion to society. And how can an entrepreneur actually pitch this idea and explain the value that an entrepreneur is adding through his work to society, which is challenging because sometimes policymaking is a little bit economical oriented. We always think about what makes money, what doesn't make money. Even if we talk about investors, that's exactly what they are looking at, but they are not considering, for instance, what Farof is doing, which is saving some money probably. So it's a different mindset. How does this relation work in your opinion, Gabriela? And does it make sense what I just said? Maybe it doesn't.
Yes, yes, it does make sense a lot. And I think that the connection between these things that you mentioned, policymakers, entrepreneurs, is the community. I think that if entrepreneurs engage communities, which are the place, let's say, where policymakers can actually be successful within their own professional fields, like policymakers, or can boost the enrichment of their communities, of their cities, of their regions, wherever level we are talking about. I think that if we concentrate on community engagement from every perspective, then we can actually involve policymakers, boost inclusivity, we can boost collaboration, we can facilitate access and participation of different actors, because you know, while you were talking about pitching basically, or sharing and motivating external people, audiences, policymakers, and so on, to join, to support an entrepreneurial project or activity or whatever. I think that in order to do that, and I go back to my first thought, because I strongly believe in that, if you tackle that challenge in your community or in your region or wherever, then you raise motivation, you raise interest, and that's how you can actually involve policymakers. Yes, you're right. They have funds. Sometimes, at least in Italy, they must use. So sometimes they just look for events or whatever kind of initiatives that can, you know, actually help them to use those funds. Or maybe they want to do something for the community, and that's where a cultural entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur can help, because that's the perspective, you know, cultural enrichment, social impact, and so on. So I think that the key is that one, is the community, and policymakers are happy to get involved. But of course, as an entrepreneur, you must be able to communicate exactly the purpose of what you're doing. And to do so, you need to tackle that challenge. So you need to know that, for instance, your community needs a library, okay? And the policymaker is aware of it, surely. So if you can engage your community in something that, sorry to be straight, but maybe may help policymakers to save money, if you know what I mean, policymakers will be happier. So there is an entrepreneurial approach, which is not only, you know, about values, about, of course, that is the foundation, but it's also about practicality. So if you know that your region or your town hall doesn't want to spend money, well, find a way to involve the community, get the same or similar results, and then involve the policymakers who will be happy. A very simple example, but just to be practical.
No, but that makes a lot of sense, and it also makes me think about another competency that's it's inherent to entrepreneurs, which is reporting results, purpose, or whatnot, that we also should be aware as practitioner of the arts, as people in the humanities field. It also makes a lot of sense. I don't know, just for a closer, sorry, Rita, I know that you want to close this, but I don't know if Celia wants to weigh in on this as well, because this is a really interesting part, I believe.
Yeah, and it's sort of like you said, yeah, it's a matter also about understanding each other worlds and definitions and so forth. And that's why I mentioned the example in the beginning, that why have we actually made the effort on the EU level and beyond to count that, okay, creative sector is this and this big through GDP. So again, you make out those, you sort of try to speak their language. But I do think that that is a really big challenge and need for all of us as artists to find a common language to address and make visible. We need also more research on the effects of art. So we need ways to also make well-being more like understandable and understood also from the policymaker's perspective.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrea, for your question. Indeed, we had a question here in the Q&A. I believe it was already kind of answered, but I will still read it. And if someone wants to give kind of a closing answer. So the question is, it was briefly mentioned at the panel that the need for multicultural and social interaction to promote entrepreneurship in arts and humanities. Can someone from the panel elaborate a bit more on that? So if any of you wants to give a closing word for this question, I believe some of the points were already tackled. But if someone wants to add, just go for it.
Well, if
I think we
nobody
can
else.
just. Oh, sorry, Celia. Go ahead.
Well, just very quickly, I do think that arts and just arts itself developing has always actually some masterpieces and so forth. Or if you think of rock music, of what cultural differences and things that came from. And I think just enriching and like this multicultural and approach sort of makes you become aware of other ways of looking at life than your own. So it's about bursting the bubble sometimes also, just very obviously much bigger thing, but just one perspective.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Andrea, did you want to add on something?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And with this, we wrap up our event as we are also delayed. Well, we can say that this is more on the, let's say, on the schedule. And I want to thank everyone for your time, everyone that is was participating with us and was watching and engaging with us. And also, of course, to all of our speakers, Celia, Farofa, Gabriela, Daniele, and also Mika that was there providing some technical support, and of course also Andre for the moderation of the panel. You do have here our social media to follow us, keep up with the updates that we will be releasing in the future. So yeah, and of course, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us in the crop project and UPTEC, but also to any of the speakers that were present here. I'm sure they will be more than willing to talk with you and have very insightful discussions. So yeah, thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Bye.
much for hosting us. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.